So today we're going to be inspecting the steering gear system on a small subchapter I vessel. The hazards and precautions that need to be taken when inspecting the steering gear are general and be covered by your general PPE. Next thing we'll be looking at is the pumps and piping associated with the steering system, where we have 2 electric motors driving 2 hydraulic pumps for the steering systems. We have a supply and return line for each. We also have hydraulic oil filters. This is all sitting on top of a hydraulic oil reservoir. When conducting an operational test of the steering gear, it's important to test in all modes, in both pumps, in both directions. So from the steering pumps, we had 4 pipes, 2 supply and 2 return lines, which you can see here. These lines here go back to the steering flat. So right here we're looking at the motor controllers for both of the hydraulic pumps. You'll see on here there's a remote start and local start for the motors. This vessel has the ability to take local control and start the motors and then come over to their emergency steering station where they can control the direction of the rudder. The next thing we'll talk about is conducting an operational test of the alarms associated with the steering gear system. First alarm we'll talk about is a power failure alarm for the hydraulic pumps. Upon power failure to one of the hydraulic pumps, an alarm should be given on the bridge and in the engine room. The second alarm is for a low level in the hydraulic oil reservoir. There's a low level in the reservoir and an audible and visual alarm should be given. The next thing we'll do is witness an operational test of the rudder by moving the rudder from 35 degrees on one side to 30 degrees on the other. The vessel should be able to do this in no more than 28 seconds. If the vessel is equipped with an auxiliary means of steering, it should be able to put the rudder over 15 degrees to 15 degrees in no more than 60 seconds. We can do this by looking at the rudder angle indicator that's here at the emergency steering station and also can be witnessed with somebody on the bridge. In the event that the ship loses power, power is going to be lost here at our hydraulic steering pumps. So when power is restored through the emergency generator, whichever one of these pumps is on the emergency bus should automatically have power restored once energy is being supplied. So the next thing we're going to be doing is verifying the accuracy of the rudder angle indicators. In order to do this, we'll need to verify the indication on the rudder angle indicator with what's shown on the graduated indicator on the rudder posts themselves. You can also do this with the rudder angle indicators that are on the bridge. You can coordinate with your exam team to verify that all the indicators match what the graduated indication in the steering flat is showing. So the next thing we're going to do is verify the steering gear compartment arrangement. So on a traditional deep draft vessel, the steering flat will be laid out slightly differently than what we're seeing now. But the things that you should see are a non-slip grating. You should also see protective railings around any type of machinery. In the steering flat, you should also see a diagram of your piping arrangement and valves for your steering system, as well as emergency means of communication. You should also see a rudder angle indicator, as well as a gyro compass repeater. In this space, other things that we could look for would be potential sources of hydraulic oil leaks, as well as any storage of items in places that they shouldn't be. So the next thing we're going to do is verify the vessel's ability to switch from bridged control to local control for the steering gear system. So on this vessel, it's simply done by means of a switch and going from remote control to local control. So from here, we take the motor into local control, the pump turns on, and we're able to operate the steering from the emergency steering station. So the next thing we're going to be doing is verifying markings and operating instructions. For markings on the actual rudder itself, on the rudder post, you should be able to see a graduated indicator showing what the actual position of the rudder is going to be. For operating instructions at the operating station, whether that's at the pilot house or at the emergency steering station or in the steering flat, there should be a set of instructions there to show you how to take control. You should also be able to see if there's any valves that are required to be moved or adjusted. Whatever number or letter that is should indicate the correct number or letter for the valve at its actual location. Okay, so the next thing we'll be doing is verifying that only one steering pump is on the emergency bus. So in order to do this, we just need to come to the emergency switchboard and verify what's on the emergency switchboard. So looking at our switchboard, we can tell that there's only one steering pump on the emergency switchboard. So the next thing we'll be looking at is non-conventional rudder arrangements. One example of that we can find on this vessel is a bow thruster. So the bow thruster is typically used when the vessel is traveling at slow speeds, helps them maneuver against the dock. As you can see here, they just have a control from the pilot station, and it can help the vessel to move the bow port and starboard. One other example of this would be an azipod, which you can find on tractor tugs and vessels like that. These have a slightly different type of indicator. You can see the direction, the amount of thrust that they have. Some of the things to consider when conducting a test or exam of your steering gear systems: verify that the vessel is following their shipboard procedures for conducting any of these tests, whether that be an operational test in follow-up or non-follow-up mode, or testing the emergency means of steering. Same for bow thruster control, or any of the alarms that they might need to operate for you. So in summary, when inspecting steering gears, you need to identify the hazards and cautions in PPE when inspecting the steering gear, examine the pumps and associated hydraulic piping system, witness operational tests in all modes from main and emergency steering stations, witness operational tests of alarms, verify that the rudder is able to go from 35 degrees to 30 degrees in 28 seconds, verify auxiliary steering can go from 15 degrees to 15 degrees in 60 seconds, verify the automatic restart of powered equipment, verify the accuracy of rudder angle indicators, examine the steering gear compartment and arrangement, verify the ability to switch from bridge control to local control, witness an operational test of non-conventional rudder arrangements, verify markings in operating instructions, and verify that only one pump is on the emergency bus. If you have any other questions, contact your local verifying officer.